what are you doing? Thinking that
Dr. Banana.
Hey guys, I'm not trying to do med school anymore, but I'm actually going to try turn bananas into ice cream for a living.
Yeah.
With 3 of my other friends. And they're like, are you crazy?
As one of the co-founders of Banan, Matt and the rest of the founders took this vision of turning bananas into ice cream a reality. And on today's episode, we're going to learn about the hard work behind what has made Banan what it is today and how they are expanding across the globe and on Oahu. So stay tuned. This is an episode. If you have a dream or a vision that you're not quite sure is going to work out, you're going to want to listen to this episode and hear some of the encouragement and hard work that went into making Banan a reality. Let's cue the intro.
Aloha! Welcome to Hawaii's Best Podcast. Learn the stories behind Hawaii's best experiences, influencers, and businesses. Discover everything that makes Hawaii the Aloha State. And now your host, Bryan Murphy.
I can't wait for you to hear more about the story behind Banan. And like I mentioned in the intro, if you have a dream, if you have a vision or something that is making your heart beat fast, I want you to listen to this because Matt had a different track, a different path that he was going for, and he made this pivot. And I don't want to give it all away. I want him to be able to tell the story of how Banan started. But go ahead, before we jump in, hit that subscribe button and drop a review in iTunes. It really helps the show and for other people to be able to find the show who are interested in travel and stories behind the businesses in Hawaii and also explore the culture of Hawaii. So thanks for considering to do that. And right now, we're going to jump on in and talk story with Matt from Banan. Thanks for joining us today on Hawaii's Best. How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing fantastic. I just spent pretty much the past few days on a neighbor island of Molokai and did some surfing and some diving and a whole bunch of fun stuff.
So, cool. Maybe we can get into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're also, I'm just trying to get a bunch of work done before we head off on Friday with a couple of my partners to go to Japan to open up a second store over there.
Oh, like a storefront?
Yeah, a storefront.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay. Now we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
this is going to be good.
Certainly.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm one of the founders of Banan. So I grew up here on Oahu, grew up surfing majority of my life. My father taught me how to surf. Went to high school in Oahu and ended up going to college in UC Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Still did some more surfing over there.
Yeah, of course.
And had such a beautiful time in California. And towards the end of my career over there, in my university studies, we started thinking about entrepreneurial ideas that then brought me back home over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that kind of in your blood growing up, that entrepreneurial mindset? Or?
No, not at all. I mean, there's snippets of it I used to have fun making logos as a kid and things like that.
Yeah.
But never when I was younger did I really think I was going to run my own business. I guess I didn't think too much about the future. Yeah.
Okay.
For a while, I wanted to be a doctor when I was studying at university.
Is that what you went to school for?
Yeah. So I studied biology, like molecular biology.
Right.
And towards the end, and worked in a lab for 2 years doing like stem cell research. And then at the very end of that, I had this entrepreneurial spark. And so did a lot of my friends who I grew up with over here. And that's when we started talking about a bunch of different ideas. None that had to do with banana ice cream or anything like that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, ideas to talk about, and it got us fired up.
So what led you to banana ice cream then?
So first, my friends and I had this wild idea of creating like a Kickstarter platform for music events and concerts. And we love going to, music festivals and concerts and things like that. And it was like a super wild idea, but it got us dreaming together like, oh my God, this would be so cool. And of course, we hit tons of walls with that and the idea changed. And so we were chasing these kind of tech dreams, even though none of us could really accomplish it or get it done. But in the meantime of chasing those ideas, we were exposed to this really silly machine called Yonanas that turns frozen fruit, bananas into ice cream.
Yonanas?
Yonanas, yeah. And so we were like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah. And the joke kind of began that oh, well, what if we, became the Jamba Juice of banana ice cream? And,
Okay.
And it sat dormant for a bit. Like we kind of messed with some homemade batches for fun of it because we loved the product. We really did love the simplicity of it right away.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of amazed us and gave us the wow factor of like, whoa, this is literally just fruit.
Yeah.
And it has this ice cream-like consistency and texture. So it shocked us in the beginning. And only later when we, were hitting walls with these other ideas and it kind of clicked that we're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few states that commercially grows bananas, that we could add this farm to table philosophy to it. And with that kind of depth of being able to support our local farmers, learn more about local agriculture and, be players in Hawaii's food scene, did it add this depth that, inspired us to be like, well, okay, we'll take this silly banana ice cream idea and do it. Because also imagine, me coming out of college and preparing for med school. And my parents are both in medicine. I'm sure they're like, whoa.
That must have been a fun conversation.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Thinking that
Dr. Banana.
hey guys, I'm not trying to do med school anymore, but I'm actually going to try turn bananas into ice cream for a living.
Yeah.
With 3 of my other friends. And they're like, are you crazy? So they're supportive the whole way. I shouldn't say, said, are you crazy? But I'm sure they had their thoughts and they're, about like, oh man, I hope he's going to be all right with that. But I think they also recognize that we were young enough at the time, we were 22, that if this thing totally failed in a year or whatever it be, that could kind of pick ourselves back up.
And you mentioned something about buying locally, and I know that's a huge part of Banan. And maybe talk a little bit about that, like why a lot of people I talk to, that's huge on their heart is supporting local farmers, buying locally. But what's the why behind that?
Yeah, the why is huge, especially here in Hawaii. There's kind of like the common statistic that 80 to maybe 90% of our food is shipped in.
Yeah.
I think for fresh produce, it's a bit better, like fruits. I think we actually, last I heard, we might be even growing 60% of our fresh produce. But I have to check on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, a big push to buy local and support our farms here is Hawaii is literally one of the most isolated land masses in the world. We're out here in the Pacific on our own. And so any food that comes in with this taxing, carbon emissions. And so that's probably the first thing that comes to mind is shortening that voyage so we can, reduce our carbon footprint. But also the other benefits of it helps support our local economy by, putting money into the hands of our fellow farmers and neighbors, rather than some big corporations that aren't investing in Hawaii. And then lastly, at least how we kind of train our employees, that we also just want to inspire a sense of culture that's focused on agriculture and bringing attention to that, how food gets to our table and the profoundness of that whole chain of events that has to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. If we could get a question on live, a lot of people want to know, like, where do you go to have fun?
Fun in Hawaii?
Yeah. I think that was one question earlier.
Well, yeah, to answer that, I mean, I think in Hawaii, if you're not super into the oceans or into hiking, it's just probably not the place to be because there's a nightlife and there's fun like that. But the majority of fun that I think about is the different surf around the island.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go hiking. Some other people are really big into hiking and then, there's tons of fun hikes. Also just traveling to the neighbor islands. I mean, just the amount of beaches and waterfalls and waves to surf is just huge. Yeah.
Maybe take us around the islands a little bit. What are the kind of unique characteristics of each one?
Yeah, I guess in my kind of eyes, Oahu's the busy one.
Right.
It's got traffic, it has things like that.
Yeah.
It has like a small skyline, but it also has tons of surf. Considering there's so many people here, there's plenty of waves and lots of surf and lots of things to do. Maui, I haven't been over there for a bit. But beautiful, like a little bit bigger and kind of spread out. One of my favorites is probably Kauai.
Yeah.
It's just so gorgeous. And the Napoli coast and the kind of colossalness on that side of the island and white sand beaches.
Yeah.
I'm also a huge fan of Molokai. I go over there quite a bit to one of our founders and friends' ranch over there.
Okay.
And that's also a really gorgeous island.
Yeah.
But they tell you, if you go to Molokai, they tell you to visit, but don't stay.
Yeah.
They're adamant about that.
Okay.
And Big Island, yeah, I've yet to go to since a little kid, and I've been meaning to because we have a couple of farmers that we support over there, and I'm really curious to check it out because that's even bigger. And to my understanding, Big Island's just always really chill. Yeah, really chill, really spread out. And then there's lots of agriculture. I mean, there's some pretty cool communities too that are like into permaculture. Yeah, and then there's also other interesting communities that I hear about of like billionaire communities too, but they have their kind of picked off huge pieces of land.
Their spots.
They got their spots too. So it's a mix of that. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of like wealth to people living out, I think, in the jungle over there.
Okay. Well, back to Banan a little bit. Love to hear a little bit more about the business model, maybe specifically talk about your locations and just kind of how that's evolved. You talked a little bit about when we started, you're heading over to Japan at the end of this week. Yeah. But maybe just kind of how it all started and obviously bring us to what's happening this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how it all started, my friends and I, we work off of spontaneity. Yeah. We never knew what we were doing, barely know what we're doing right now. And in the very beginning, we didn't know if we were going to do a food truck, if we were going to do, a brick and mortar, or if we're going to just set up in farmer's market, like a little pop-up tent. Our first, vessel of selling our banana ice cream ended up being a food truck. And how that came to be was we saw a Craigslist ad, some partners of mine, and we decided to check it out. We did not think we were buying a food truck that day. We're checking it out. But I think we're going to maybe do the store thing or the farmer's market thing. And we brought along our buddy Galen's, his family friend who flips cars for a living on Craigslist. Okay. And this guy is just smooth boss negotiator. And if you ever have the opportunity to like watch someone do a the art of negotiation like that, it's just, I encourage it because it was just amazing. He got the guy like on his back heels, like right when we started and, asking all these questions, pumping, the engine hot and all this stuff. And pretty much he negotiated our food truck down from what was listed at $5,000 down to $2,000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And which was, even though for us though, that was still like a huge purchase. We're like, oh my God, let's spend $2,000. Yeah. Now, it's a smaller thing. But
when you were just waking up that day, like not thinking you're going to
not thinking we were coming back with a food truck, that's for sure. Zach's parents, one of my partners, his parents did not think we were coming back with a food truck to park in front of their house. Yeah. Which we then painted up and did all the fun stuff later. But it's funny because when we were negotiating the car, it turned to this point where he just turned to us and was like, well, you guys going to take it or not? You guys going to take it or not? Yeah. If not, I'm going to like buy it and flip it. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll take it. And he helped drive it off from the guy's house that day. And we brought it to Zach's parents' place where we then kind of built it out and started our journey. Yeah. And from there, the food truck started to do fairly well.
It started at Diamond Head?
Started over at Diamond Head. It's still parked there today.
Okay.
And we're actually having a little event there this Friday.
Oh, cool.
We'll have some like live music and some free beer and stuff. Yeah. So we started over there at Diamond Head and things started to pick up. I think because we were young local guys, there's like an initial buzz from bloggers like, oh, these kids trying to do, good thing, which really helps. And then Instagram is what really started to just naturally market itself. Right. The product is like, it's kind of aesthetically pleasing. Like, looks like something you might want to take a picture of, I guess. None of us were into Instagram before we started this business. I certainly wasn't. Now I run our account.
So I was going to ask you run it.
So I professionally take pictures of swirls and fruit for a living. Yeah, that's what I do. But that did as well, Instagram. Yeah. And shortly after that, maybe not too short, but like a year into business, we decided to launch a Kickstarter.
So back with the food truck, what year was that?
We opened December 27th of 2014. Okay. So pretty much 2015 is when we opened up. Yeah. Okay. So we just hit 4 years recently.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering where you guys are now, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. We've been,
that's great.
When we first started, super naively, I don't know why, but we were just like, oh yeah, like 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to have like 200 stores. Not really piecing, the things that have to happen in order for that to come to be. But we've been really, really happy and feel very fortunate and feel very thankful that our community's supported us this far. Yeah. So to continue on that, about a year into the food truck, we launched a Kickstarter and raised a bit of money from there to build the store that we're sitting in today across from University of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And this is our biggest footprint. We kind of saw it as this awesome chance to create like a flagship store. And, for us, where we are right now in Manoa, the valley that our store is in, we picked it with this reason too. Like it seems so perfect that it's in this center point within the breadbasket of like education in Hawaii, or at least in Oahu.
Yeah.
You have University of Hawaii right across from us. You have UH Lab, like a middle school right directly across from us. Midpack, Punahou.
Yeah.
Roosevelt. There's a handful of schools.
Was that strategic? And
that was kind of the idea. Is that it was strategic in the sense that, I think we thought social media would do well, but it was also this feel good that, hey, we want to be involved in Hawaii's education. And since then, I don't know if it's because of this location or just the brand, we've gotten to speak at pretty much all these schools.
Oh, that's cool.
At the university at Punahou. That was kind of an inspiration though, that there's going to be a lot of this youth and that we want to be changing how people look at food, and how to do that best is to, be raising our kids and, our children on food that's good for them and also good for, the local economy and good for the earth.
Yeah. Kind of switching gears, just maybe a little bit. I'd love to hear about the other owners, who they are and their story just a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. There's Zach, Luke, and Galen. That's who the four of us together started our food truck.
Yeah.
Galen left about a year in because he had some really amazing opportunities going down in South America, where he was actually going to mentor under the founder of North Face. Founder of North Face unfortunately passed away right when he was going down. And to speed things up, Galen now works for Patagonia Provisions, which is Patagonia's food arm. They're doing some amazing things with their supply chain in very Patagonia fashion. And so he splits time between kind of California and Molokai and over here now. But the other two operating partners, Zach, me and him, we go way, way back. We weren't like the best of friends throughout our whole childhood, but we go back as far to like little kids, must have been 7 years old, soccer days. Luke as well, we all went to school. Zach, Luke, and myself all started going to Punahou school in 7th grade. So we've known each other since middle school. And Zach and Luke were always like super good. Best buddies, always get into trouble. They're still always the rascals and the ones that are probably driving the spontaneity. And I'm like, hey, let's see what happens and think about it. But yeah, they're just awesome guys. Luke, he's the husband of one of our other classmates, Carissa Moore, who's a 3-time world champion surfer. So he gets to do quite a bit of traveling with her and surfing with her. And Luke's kind of just the rugged guy who, the kind of breakdown of like us three is Luke, he's the strong man. He's the one who's building all this material that's around us right now. He does a lot of our build outs. Zach kind of leads a lot of our accounting and finance and management. And then I kind of share some of that management with them, and then as well as do kind of the, I guess, graphics, creative, marketing areas of our business. But we're all to talk about us all personally. We're all surfers, and that's certainly a passion that we all connect on, that we love to surf together. We've done some really fun kayak journeys together. So we just love doing anything outdoor in general, and as well as dancing around a lot. We have quite a bit of company parties with the employees, and there's quite a bit of dancing that happens. Yeah.
Interesting. Was there a time, and maybe this will lead to Japan and your opportunity there, but was there a time in the last maybe 4 or 5 years or whatever, you're like, I'm not sure if this is going to work out? And was there a moment like you had to like press through? Maybe you could take us to that moment, a little bit about perseverance.
Certainly. We've had some tight times in the past. To be clear too, especially for anybody who's going on an entrepreneurial journey, we had it like a bit plush. Like our parents were very supportive. Zach and myself, we're 27 now. We didn't move out of our parents' place till not even a year ago. So having a good network of like family support, that was pretty huge.
Okay.
To say that we made it completely on our own, that would be just incredibly tough. And I have just the most huge, utmost respect for entrepreneurs that start with literally nothing, no family. It's maybe they don't even speak the language of the country. And they, travel over and make some success.
I can't imagine.
I really can't imagine.
Yeah.
So family support in the beginning was huge.
Okay.
Especially, just letting us living with them. And definitely tons of meals and things like that.
Yeah.
And because for the first years or so, pay was not a consistent thing.
Sure.
And even when pay started, it was a very small figure, and we're slowly working it up.
Yeah.
But I guess to answer your question about hardships, our dynamic between us is pretty fun and funky.
Okay.
And I think because we're friends, it's kind of like if you got stuck in like a hairy situation on a hike or something like that, you kind of, it's the type of friend group that you kind of like laugh it off a bit.
Sure.
You're like, oh, man. And it's the same goes with kind of some of our hardships. Yeah. There's harder times. But I think because we're so young and there's not as much responsibility on the line, there's been a lot of times where we kind of laugh things off.
Yeah.
We've had times where our truck in the very beginning just would shut down because of power, energy needs and things like that, where there's big, mess ups and things that, go the unexpected. And we've fortunately been able to embrace it with kind of a sense of laughter. And we've never been in a situation that's been so tight that it's going to cripple the company.
This is gonna,
and knock on wood. But so far, I guess we've embraced a lot of hardship with laughter in a way.
Yeah, you gotta sometimes laugh it off and just chalk
and
it
just
up
focus
to
on the future
experience.
I mean, there's a lot of sweat that went into this business.
Yeah.
Like the first year and pretty much the first year, it was us four working the truck every single day. We started introducing employees a little before a year out, but there's just been a lot of hard work through it.
So how did relationships in Japan come about and those opportunities?
Yeah, Hawaii has an interesting relationship with Japan, or I guess Japan to Hawaii. It's this amazing affection between our cultures, and the Japanese just love Hawaii. And so they have they hold a Hawaii fair
in Japan,
a handful of Hawaii fairs.
Oh, okay.
And so we were invited to one.
Yeah.
And the company that was hosting it was kind enough to, market us really hard on national news coverage. And so we just had a huge success at this Hawaii fair. And the partners who we worked with for that, so this big company partners up with a few individuals, they ended up being the ones to help us take the brand over to Hawaii. And we had some good chemistry in the beginning. And then we're still working things out.
Yeah.
Things aren't picture perfect. And
sure.
It's interesting, it's our first go of trying to control the brand and the product from afar and make sure that people are putting as much love into it as us.
Yeah.
And so there's things that we're super happy about. Like their supply chain is awesome.
Yeah.
For the most part, like their bananas, we got to check out where they're coming from in the Philippines because you can't have local bananas in Japan.
Okay.
But the shift kind of focused more towards using really good agricultural practices, which these guys do, and also labor practices. Because as you start sourcing agriculture
you have to take all
from
that
developing nations, there's some dark stories that you can support. And that was really important to us that we, at least did our due diligence to check it out a bit.
Yeah.
And there's still more to investigate and check out and improve.
Because when you talk about your brand, it's more than just, hey, make sure you get the colors right.
It's more than
the recipe right. It's a whole
it's the philosophy behind where is the stuff being grown?
Right.
And how is it being grown? Yeah. Something that we're always trying to improve on, even over here in Hawaii. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of answers just a little bit about, hey, what's next? And when do those stores open? Is it multiple stores or?
So we have one store that's set to open in Osaka, Japan.
Yeah.
March 14th.
Okay.
And then we're also building out a store here on the east side of Oahu in Kailua.
Okay.
We haven't gotten the keys to it yet, but that should be happening fairly soon. We just got a new food truck up and running.
Okay.
So that's specifically for events and catering, which sounds super fun for us. Just going around and having a good time.
Do you still get on the food truck from time to time?
Yeah. Especially like this one that's starting up, the new event one. We're still working out the kinks, and we kind of spearhead that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And then we'll have a manager take it over.
Okay.
But other, projects that are worth mentioning is Hawaii. We have a pretty big passion project going on with this guy young guy, his name's Gabe, and he's just banana guru.
Okay.
The guy is just spiritually in tune with all things banana, from the academic level, to that spiritual level, I guess you could say. Gabe just loves bananas.
You need to have a Gabe.
Yeah. Like he's from Colorado, and he pretty much came to University of Hawaii to study bananas, like tropical ag, but like in specific bananas.
Okay.
So when I heard about this guy at an event I was at, I was like, oh, we gotta
chat with him at least.
Yeah. And pretty much where that's gone though is we've helped fund Gabe a little bit to build this nursery, which is just like a tent to prevent insects and things like that from coming in. And the money that we kind of gave Gabe, he's going to be paying us back in a special variety of bananas.
Oh.
And these are going to be really righteously grown, using like co-cropping. So using other crops to fertilize the soil, other crops to push away pests and things like that. And the real beauty behind it too is not only that we're starting this new supply here in Hawaii and inspiring some local agriculture, not just pulling from what exists.
Right.
The really cool thing is that this nursery that Gabe is building is going to serve as this point where farmers can purchase banana plants and the sense of food security for Hawaii. Because right now, if you're a farmer and you wanted to plant 500 trees, so you can successively grow them and pull crop week by week, there's not really a place to do that. And there's certainly not a place to do that where you're getting clean plants. There's one place, but they're way too busy. And from my understanding, you won't get your order. So that's what Gabe's planning on doing, is that you can get different varieties, and he's very educational. So he'll teach you, he'll certainly talk it out on how to harvest, how to know when to harvest, how to grow them. That's the really amazing thing for us, that we feel just so fortunate that Gabe exists and that this banana connection happened, because we couldn't do something like that on our own, but we're really happy to be involved and help support that and be able to spread the story of that too.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, maybe if someone's traveling to the islands, maybe for the first time, or maybe they've been coming back year after year, what is something, in your opinion, something they should know coming to Hawaii to help better prepare their experience?
Probably go to the neighbor islands because they're just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oahu is too. There's so much beauty to see, but I think, maybe it's because I grew up here, but I think that, hitting Kauai and places like that is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And something to consider. I guess I'll throw out a few recommendations that I have here, even in Oahu. Pretty much food based.
Yeah,
obviously come by Banan. We're awesome, I think. But one of my favorite places is on the east side. It's called I Love Nalo.
Okay.
And they do this really just fresh Hawaiian food. It's like a plant-based menu, but kind of a Hawaiian, I guess a plant-based take on Hawaiian food.
Yeah.
And just a lot of fresh ingredients. They have this super cool outdoor seating area that's like grass on the outside in their little garden. And if that's probably my favorite place to eat during the day. Is I Love Nalo. And then shortly down from there, there's also this fruit farm, exotic fruit farm called Frankie's Nursery. So if you come in Hawaii summer, there's there's stuff year round, but there's tons of crazy stuff that you'd only see, in maybe Southeast Asia or Central America. And they kind of have it all. So that's a couple just quick recommendations. And those are all out on the east side. So there's Waimanalo, and certainly look up Makapu. That's one of my favorite beaches.
Yeah.
Little tangent from that. Makapu, we often hold these little sunrise beach cleanup parties.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
They started off as just being parties. So the history of that, actually, now that I'm talking about it, is when we first opened the store we're sitting in.
You wake up and like, I might as well just clean up my stuff.
It's like when we first opened the store that we're sitting in, we were partying a lot with our employees and having like a super fun time.
Yeah.
And, then it started feeling like, hey, it's getting a little toxic. We're just partying with our employees. And we had an early morning surf at this beach called Makapu. And we're like, wow, how beautiful would it be if we like brought the whole team here and traded out beers and shots for, tea and juice. And so that's how that started. We just started this sunrise party where we'd go and drink tea, make pancakes on the beach and surf. And feel refreshed. It hits like 8 or 9 o'clock and then you're like, oh, wow, I'm ready to start my day. And then later on, some really, rad employees of ours were like, oh, if we're doing this beach thing, we should just clean it up while we're at it. And so now we try to incorporate that too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe spring off that a little bit. What are some things, some etiquette for people to know coming to the islands? And obviously pick up after yourself is a huge one.
So yeah, I guess anywhere you are in the world, right? It's,
right.
Leave no trace.
Exactly.
A good one to recognize coming, to swim in the oceans and there's lots of sun is sunscreen. That's been kind of a big issue lately, that to use reef safe sunscreen.
In 2021.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They're just going to be banned?
Yeah. Certain chemicals.
Just across the nation?
Not across the nation, just in Hawaii.
In Hawaii. Okay, got it. Yeah.
So January 2021.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that's one that I'd recommend is, looking into good sunscreens.
Yeah.
You can buy some at Banan. Just through the Instagram a wink.
Yeah.
But let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, just be a good human, be polite.
Yeah, that's huge. Leave your spot better than how you found it, so for generations, you can share that with thinking about your grandchildren or thinking about, next generations. So like, we went to that spot and now it looks totally wrecked. Like, have that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think sometimes even like us locals, like, there's locals around that sometimes don't treat the island as good as it should be treated. But especially as visiting tourists, really just the ideas of leave no trace and just be you and be kind. Hopefully that's what it must be.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. How can people find out more about you and Banan and what's next?
So you can stay in touch with us either through our Instagram, which is just at Banan, so like banana but drop the A at the end, or bananbowls.com is our website that we update once in a while. But other than that, just look for us. Really, mainly on Instagram is where we communicate things. Yeah,
sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
I just want to thank Matt again and for his time. And that was our very first on location podcast. We also did an Instagram live during that. And that's something that we look forward to maybe trying out more in the future. Stay tuned for that. My key takeaway from my conversation with Matt was just the hard work towards a vision. Sometimes a vision may seem impossible or bigger, and that's what makes a vision exciting to go ahead and chase. And hearing the story from Matt and about the rest of the founders, it's really encouraging to hear that hard work, passion, and just stickability can make something a reality. And what they're doing on Oahu and Japan is something that is pretty amazing that they've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. So if you're on Oahu, be sure to check out one of their locations. And you can also follow them on Instagram, hit their website. I'll link all that stuff in the show notes as well. Thanks again for joining us today. Hit subscribe, leave a review, find us on Instagram at hawaiis.best. We look forward to connecting more with you and learning more on how we can highlight the best from Hawaii. Be well. We'll see you next time. Aloha.
Thanks for listening to Hawaii's Best Podcast. To stay up to date on future episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and find us at livehawaiisbest.com.